Hello, Daryl here. The channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is programminginanylanguage.com or black-duck.com. They both take you to the same place. And it's a place where you'll find the videos and PDFs of the code. The video is adding encryption via a static class. Another good name for a static class is a program without a form. It's a useful program that has no form associated with it, but can be used by different programs to perform a task of some kind. Let's take encryption, for example. Back in the array section of the website is an application called Password Keeper. Its function is to provide a place for users to store a name of some entity, a login ID for that entity, and a password. Unfortunately, the application automatically loads and saves the data from and to a text file. The data in that file is not encrypted. Should anyone get a copy of the text file, they will have access to all the passwords. By adding a static class that performs encryption on the password, we can secure this application with very little change to the code itself. Before exiting the program, we simply pass each password to the encryption class. It passes back the encrypted password, and it gets saved to the text file. When we start the program, form load reads the text file. It too passes the encrypted password to the encryption class so the password can be decrypted in the application. It's actually pretty simple. Watch. Whenever we approach something new, such as static members, static classes, we kind of understand the concepts of what we're trying to get there, but we can't really place them into how they might be used in real life. The static class especially, we define that as something we might use as a log file or something of that nature. Another thought is to think of a static class as a program without a form. In other words, it's a routine that's going to do something, but we have no form for it because we're going to call things in and make it useful. In this case, we're going to actually use that, and we're going to add encryption via a static class. Now, what we're going to take a look at is basically, if you go back to the Programming in Any Language website, in the array section, there's an application called the Password Keeper. We did that a while back. If you haven't done that, take a look at it. If not, we're going to bring it forward and then add it to the class section here so we can update this particular program. This program is basically a password keeper. It allows a user to track passwords for companies, the login ID, and the password that that person might be using in any case. There's an analysis here, form design, form load, and exit, how we're going to actually use those things. There's 4 panels being used in the program, and there's an add, search, delete, edit button, and there's some cosmetics to make it look pretty. We're going to add something here because there's a problem with this program. Right now, the program starts as a process in here where the user is using manual input, typing in passwords, whatever, or doing a search routine to find it, and the data is being sitting on disk and is brought into an array. And that array then is what the user accesses. You might add to it, might search it, whatever, and then end. It looks something like this. We have a form load, search, add, delete, edit, and an exit button. And when the program starts up, it sets up the array and loads the file, the text file, into the array. When we close the program, it writes that file back to the array because it may have been updated, it may have been changed, and we close the application. That's all well and good, and it works fine. But there's a problem. When we look at the data, we have the company, the login ID, and the password sitting here, and it's in plain text. Anyone who gets a hold of this text file or prints out this text file or whatever is going to end up with all the passwords, and that's not a good idea. You want to keep your passwords secret, kept to you. For you only. So we need to find a way to encrypt this data so it's not being seen by the public, only by the person who's actually using the program. We do that by looking back at our program here and saying our manual inputs here, everything is happening as we bring in data into the file and sending it back out. So when we write the data out to the text file, we want to encrypt that data so the password at least is changed. It's in a different format, and it's secret. When we load the program up, we want to read that file and decrypt it so it's sitting in the array in normal text form so we can actually see the data. It's going to look something like this. On our form load, we're going to decrypt the password as we bring it in, set the array, decrypt it, and load that array so it's sitting out there. When we close the program, we're going to encrypt the password, write it to file, and close the application. So we're tweaking this thing a little bit in our hierarchy chart, in our form load, and in our exit routine. How are we going to do that? Well, first you need to understand a little bit about encryption and decryption. Encryption is the process of converting plain text, readable data, into cybertext or scrambled data using an algorithm and a key. The decryption is the reverse process, converting cybertext back into plain text. The main goal of encryption is to ensure data confidentiality, making it unreadable to unauthorized parties. We want to keep it secret. There are two main types of encryption. Symmetric encryption uses the same key for both encryption and decryption, and asymmetric encryption uses a pair of keys, a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption. We'll be using a very simple symmetric encryption. And we're going to use the Caesar cipher. It's a simple symmetric encryption. The Caesar cipher is one of the oldest and simplest encryption techniques, named after Julius Caesar, who supposedly used it to communicate with his generals. Yeah, maybe so. The cipher involves shifting each letter in plain text by a fixed number of positions in the alphabet. In other words, in this case, the key is a 3. So if we encounter an A, it becomes a D. If we encounter a capital B, it becomes a capital E. C becomes an F, and so on. And exclamation points, question marks, periods, they too will be increased to something in the ASCII file that is 3 beyond where it actually is. The shift value serves as the encryption key. To decrypt, you simply shift letters back by the same number of positions. So that key is used for encryption and decryption. That's all there is to it. Very, very straightforward and simple. Now, our current exit routine looks like this. We build a record, we end up creating that password file, and we loop through the array, take all 3 pieces, the record name, the login ID, and the password, and concatenate it to a string full record with tabs in between so it's tab delimited. We bring it into a spreadsheet if we wanted to, and it's readable there. Then we output it, and we're done. The current form load routine takes the file, looks at that delimiter, and as long as there's a password file out there, it brings it in using a loop. It takes that full record, breaks it apart into tokens. It uses tokens to break it apart into record name, login ID, and password, and sends it out and creates that. And that's all there is to it. What we want to do now is encrypted. So we're going to create an encryption static class. We're going to call that class encrypt. It's going to encrypt the password. We're going to bring in string entry, and this is the encryption piece, and there's also a decryption piece down here. The methods are very similar. The encrypting password, we're going to take the string, and we're going to say Caesar encrypt string str entry. We're going to bring that piece in. It's going to grab it. It's going to set up a string area which null, which has nulls in it, so that we can capture that and concatenate it, and a working character is going to be used in the process. Then we have a loop here, a for each loop. If we're looking at all the characters in string entry, the thing that's coming in here, we're going to take that first letter, second letter, third letter, all letters one at a time, and add 3 to them. And then convert them back to a character and put them into CHR working character, and then concatenate that working character into string encrypted entry. So we're going to be building this thing. So this is going to build an encrypted password for us. And then we're going to take that, pass it the string entry, and return it to the program that called it, the string entry. Decrypting a password, same thing. We're going to be bringing in the string entry. We're going to call it Caesar decrypt. And we're going to use the same strings here, string encrypted entry, working character, and the same for each loop. In this case, though, we're going to be subtracting 3 from the character and then concatenating it. So it comes back to the normal way that it was. So basically, this takes it apart, creates a cyber version of it, and it decrypts it and brings it back to normal text. Our new exit routine will look something like this. It's going to be very, very similar, but we're going to be using a piece right in here and right down in here. In fact, let's look at a close-up of this section right here to get an idea what's going to happen here. What we're doing is we're taking a string encrypted password, which is a string we're creating right here, and we're saying encrypt, Caesar encrypt, string password I. We're going to take that password from the array and pass it to the encryption Caesar encrypt routine. And then we expect it to come back encrypted. And then we take that first name, the record name, the login ID, and the password into part 3 and concatenate it just as we always did and write it out, and it's concatenated. The new form load routine where we read it back in looks something like this. We're going to be working in this area right in here, and the close-up of that looks like this. We're going to take a string decrypted password holding area, and we're going to be taking the encrypted cyber decrypt token 2 happens to be there. It's 0, 1, and 2, which is an array. And we're going to take that pass to the decrypted password after we send it to the static class. It'll come back. We can take that decrypted password then and stick an str password X. So it becomes part of the array in normal text form, and we can actually read it. That's all there is to it. So it's very simple, straightforward. We don't do much change to the program itself. All we're doing is really adding the class, which can be used in other programs, and making a couple changes to the load routine and the exit routine. While testing this routine, it was interesting because it worked just fine, except when I came into a new file and tried to add a brand new file to it and look at the ad. When it came into the ad and I exited from the ad routine, it turned out I could not do a search. And I was trying to figure out why. And it turned out the search button was invisible. We enabled it, but we did not make it visible. So I added I did make a change to the program here. We'll show you that, and we'll create that search button so it actually does work. That's essentially it. So let's take a look at this. This is our existing program right now, and you see all the different panels on here. I can send a panel to the back if I want. And we'll see another panel pop up in here. There's how we're going to actually come up, our picture of the password, or the picture of the routine when it actually comes up, and this is what it looks like. What we want to do is we want to go into the exit routine and the form load routine to actually make this thing work. So we're going to go into the code here. We're going to take a look at that. And form load is sitting right here. And exit routine is sitting right in here. And we want to change this. But before we do that, we want to add the class that we're actually going to be using here. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to add a class. I'm going to add a class. I'm going to call the class encrypt. Creates it right here. I'm then going to take the encrypting a password routine and place it in here. This is going to bring in the string entry. We have our str encrypted entry sitting here as null, our working character data type. And we have our for each loop here where we're going to be taking the character and increasing it by 3 and then concatenating the password, sending it back out to the routine. We're also going to put in our decryption password, or decryption routine. That's going to go right in down here. It's exactly the same thing, except it says Caesar decrypt string str entry. This is the same. Our for each loop does everything the same, except it subtracts 3 instead of adding 3. We concatenate our working password, our decryption password, and we end up sending it back to the entry and returning it back to the calling program. So now we can take a look at those routines and put those things in place. How do we do that? Well, we'll take a look at the exit routine first, which is sitting right in here. All we really want to do is update this piece right in here, string part 3. That's like how we want to make it will change. So we're exiting this thing. We want to take this password and turn it into a encrypted password. So how do we do that? Well, one thing we can do is we can add a variable called string encrypted password to our program. It'll be a holding area for our encrypted password. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pass the password to our class. Encrypt, Caesar encrypt password, and str password I is going to go there. That means this guy right here isn't going to be needed anymore. So we'll close him off. And now what we're doing is we're basically taking the password, encrypting it. str part 1, str part 2 is still taking the name and the login ID. And then right in here, we want to be able to concatenate this piece right here, or string part 3. How do we do that? We simply then say that once we've concatenated that, we can say that str part 3 is equal to str encrypted password. That comes back in. That means we're actually taking str part 1, 2, and 3, concatenating them again because we've changed what str encrypted password is and making that work. That's all there is to it to make this thing encrypted. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our form load. How are we going to change that? Let's save this. We take a look at our form load. It looks something like this. Once again, we want to take the place a variable right in here, string decrypted password right in here, and hang on to that so we can make use of it. Then we're going to take our full record. We're going to read that line in. We're going to split the record so it's into the three pieces, the string record name, login ID, and password. But this time we're going to go right into here. And instead of take token 2 going into password X, we're going to encrypt it. And we're going to end up with an str encrypted password here. That means we're not going to be using this anymore. Instead, we're going to take our encrypted password and pass that. Need an S in here. And pass that, the encrypted password, to the password itself, to the part of the array that we actually have here. And then it's set and ready to go. That's all there is to this thing. This program's done, believe it or not. Do a file save. And we also want to go ahead and take a look at that little add routine we have here, because I believe we had that error sitting down here. So we're going to look at the add right here. It was in the button exit add, I believe. Yes, and right in here we want to say that btn search dot visible is equal to true. And then that will work. That takes care of that little piece. Save it again. Save all. And let's run this program. There's our program sitting right here. It's got 2 records in there already. We can actually see those records. And they're looking like this. Pause. Website. If I click on one of these things, we see we have a problem here. We actually have our data has been encrypted. Why? Because we already had a file sitting out there. So, and it was in text format. So bringing it in is actually subtracting 3 from all those characters and making it go. So we need to actually get out of here, exit out, and go into the program itself and get rid of that file. So we do that by jumping into the bin debug folder, taking our password. As you can actually see, I'll bring it out here, and you can see that dogs are cool, targets are one. Okay, we don't want this because this is going to be, it's not going to work. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll go ahead and get rid of this file completely and start out fresh. We'll delete it everywhere. And now we're going to go in and run our program. In fact, before I even do that, I'm going to set up so it comes up center screen. Starting position is going to be center screen for the file. And we'll save it again. And run it. There are no records. You'll be starting a new file. This is where we had our little error. You can't see a search button in here, which is fine because we can't search anything because there's nothing there right now. But we need to add something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add target. Everybody likes to go to target, right? And we'll set up our user as user 1. We're going to set our password as target. Capital Z, capital exclamation point. And pop that in there and post it. It's now there. You can't, once I exit add, our search does come up and we can actually get in here now. We can see the target, and indeed there's target Z. It's sitting out there. Exit our search. Let's add another one. We'll add Walmart. And we'll say me at walmart.com. And set it up as DK23 Z exclamation point ampersand. Ugly password that I'll never remember, but we're going to go ahead and post that guy. And we're going to add one. Let's see. We did post it. We're going to add one more. We're going to add Aurora Health. And our ID will be, let's go with DARKEL as the login ID. And the password is going to be Aurora. Let's put a date in here. Let's say 12/25 25. And then put an exclamation point in there and post the record. And bang, exit add, and there's our records. We can search them. They're all sitting there. Do Aurora Health. There it is. It's looking good. Target, looking good. Let's edit. And now we're going to end it. Right now, as you remember, there's no file out here. You can't see any. But as soon as I go ahead and exit this routine, it's going to create our file. There it is. Let's open and take a look and see what we've got here. We've got DXURUND455858 $. This one here, unreadable. And this. It actually has encrypted our passwords. Now, can we actually see them when we come back in? Let's find out. We bring our program up again. It's going to read that file, and we can search it. There's Aurora Health, Target, Walmart. They're all still there. Aurora Health. Aurora, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25, 25, exclamation point. Target, Target Z. Walmart, DK23Z, exclamation point, ampersand. Everything looks fine here. It looks like it actually did the job. So we've taken the file, we've been able to encrypt our passwords, and now the only way you can get in and actually see the password is by using the routine. If I exit this again, recreates our file. That file's sitting right over here. If we look at it, it's still encrypted. So users can get at this file and see it. That's basically being able to encrypt a file using a static class in a nutshell. Hopefully using a static class to encrypt and decrypt the password puts a clearer perspective on how you can use static classes. They're just programs without forms. And yes, we could have done the encryption as two methods inside the application. But that would not have given us the ability to use the same code in other applications. Also, if we decided to change the encryption method to something other than the Caesar encryption method, all we had to do was change the code of the class. We'd also touch the application. The actual application would not have to be touched at all. Thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance, and please subscribe. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you next video. Take care.